Haugen. Check the description box below for tabs and backing tracks on my website, information about exactly what sound tools I'm using today, how to schedule one-on-one time with me, live streams and more on Patreon, and my deep dive guitars and courses. It's all on my website. To me, Hendrix is the entryway into the world of groove and fill playing, or rhythm that kind of goes over into lead. So we're going to drop in there with the melody. Fret-wise, that is the 8th fret on the A string, but again, the chord structure I'm seeing is a B flat. That's why I'm seeing that one. I'm going to slide it up because that's what Otis does. All the way up to this B flat here, this 13th fret of my A string. So here's the next B flat that I'm seeing. This is a caged C-shaped B flat. I'm going to put all these charts up on Patreon because that's the way I see everything. Chords first, and then the pentatonic scales that attach to them. If you're good at that, you're doing good. You can do so much. You can do so much if you got that stuff cool. There's a double stop right there. There's, I don't even know if I've seen Hendrix do this exact one. So this right here is an example of taking his thing and being like, wait a second, I can do that here. So if that's the chord structure, that's the melody, I realized I could get this extra note in there. And the way double stops work is they're not a specific interval. It's more about hand choreography or hand structures that you can do. I call this 10 and 10 on the D and the G. I call that a flatty. I don't call it a fourth, even though it is. And then I call this a flatty to diagonal, when you bring that lower tone onto the 12, but leave that upper tone. Okay, so that lick again. And then, this is a Hendrix thing, but this is just a cool thing. You kind of will just let yourself slide backwards out of it very quietly. Doesn't matter how much of that you get, but that's still major pentatonic. And then I'm like, here's a B flat again. Because I know that this structure of F is coming at me as the next chord, the 5 chord in the key. So I only bend, again, that's 7 on my G string, 6 on my B string. Only bend that lower one up a fret because that's what the vocal melody is doing. And I'm like, yeah, that is a little bit of what Otis is singing there. Now that's, properly key of B flat major, but okay. Grabbing this part of this F because I'm still on an F there. It's one of my favorite E flat chords that you can find. I just back up, back up, back up. And you notice though, because I know where I'm going next, I'm going to have to stop that with my hand to now repurpose the concept of a Hendrix double stop for an E flat chord. Here's an E flat chord. Let's see, where's the next one? It's that with that. This is a quote-unquote D shape. It would look like that. It's not just this, because that actually puts you into this position. I'm going to sit there with that for a second. That's a very, cognitively, I totally get that. When I say, hey, what's the D shape? People go, it's that. And you're like, but the flaw in that is now that covers this position. It doesn't cover this position. And that's the whole deal with the cage thing, is that you don't want gaps in your positioning, because this is really part of that. This is this 1, 2, 3, 4 fret span. So, okay, well, here we go. Ready? E flat's here. It's here, but sometimes I'll put the 3rd on the bottom. Now it's here. Now it's here. Now it's here or here. And now it's here. Now notice, in doing it that way, I've completely painted the fretboard with E flat. There's no other places for that triad or any of those triads, scales, arpeggios to hide from me. That's the value of the caged thing, is that it makes it so there's no gaps. No gaps. Anyway. And then we grab it to get now. I'm visualizing this structure of E flat and kind of knowing what the melody is and realizing, yep, I can get another flatty to diagonal double stop there. You know, and that's such a Hendrix thing. That alone, that double stop. Again, you know, Cornell Dupree, Curtis Mayfield. Insert any deep dive previous R&B guitar player. So we got 4 and 3, visualizing that one. And I'm seeing now a B flat major pentatonic. Here's a B flat, here's a B flat. And yeah. And then, yep, some more repurposing. I've never, you know, in the Hendrix songs I've learned, I haven't heard him do this one, but he would have if he saw me play. Be, oh, that's a good idea, Eric. So you started with this one out of this structure of B flat, 6 and 6, hammer that to 8. Up to this version of B flat here, which is just, you know, I'm seeing this one, the C shape, that 11 and 10. And now we're kind of in, you know, I always think of this as the B.B. King box. If this is B flat here, yep, that's there and there's. Yeah, that's copying. That's not the second verse. I think that's the third or fourth verse. Otis sings that. You can see that. That's 13s and 11s. And this one's tricky to get clean. The next one, we're going to bend this 13. Just make sure that's still rolling over there. Yeah, it is. This 13 up. Hendrix doesn't hybrid pick, but I do. Check it. Oh, well, here, I'll play it first, and then you can see. Get that in frame. Okay. So, yep, we're bending that up. And now to get that E flat tone, I'm going to get the 11th fret of the high E with my middle finger. Let's look over here. Yep. So we're on, what chord are we on? Oh, yep, we're on an F. Here's an F. So I'm just going to grab those and slide back to get this E flat, the next chord. Here's a double stop. That's an interesting one. So I'm seeing this structure of E flat, and it is also the melody, getting just the top 2 of that and getting my pinky to get that 3, 5, 7, 8th fret. I like that little lick. So that is this one here, and then I'm kind of, still on the E flat. Yeah, that's still on the E flat, so I'm still seeing it. But now I'm gonna get, so now I'm seeing this structure. I'm gonna get that 6 and 6, hammer to that 8. And this is kind of fun. Yep, just that's the flat third of that chord, sliding to get the proper major third. So yeah. And then more fill. Oh yeah, at that point, because the chord is now a B flat. Yeah, so it's pivoting from. That's why that land works. And then just, you know, a review of the, you know, your classic Wind Cries Mary, Axis Bold as Love. That's, you know, if you take away one thing, if you don't know these forevermore, just, you know, whenever you play this chord structure, your classic bar chord up top, you always have the option to go. Because here's our major pentatonic. And then, yep, this is a flatty to a diagonal. Because, you know, I call that because the shape becomes that between the tones. There's no proper names for the intervals that are double stops. That's part of the problem. But I mean, that's also part of the problem with a lot of music theory nomenclature. Like, there's so many names, and some of them are official, and some of them are unofficial. That's so cool. So you got that. Yep. Oh yeah, we saw that earlier. 5 and 6. Kind of seeing that. That's the second of the chord hammering onto the third. That sound is throughout all music, all genres. And then the vocal melody is just going to get part of that again. Then you have an ascending line cliche is the name for the way it goes, like. Where that chord is staying a B flat the whole time, but this one note is moving up. You know, there's all sorts of different versions of those. Stairway to Heaven, Beatles, something. Yeah, it's just a cool thing you can do. It's like, I think of a lot of things like that, like as little just musical organisms that you're like, oh, there it is again. There's that zebra. There it goes. I don't know. That's how I see it, at least. It's a zebra. Okay, where was I? Now I'm gonna slide down, targeting that B flat, because there's B flat major pentatonic. Get that tone of that line cliche. You know, get a little bit of the melody out of that major pentatonic. Yep, and that time I do a slide to get that, because I know I need to do this cool chord, because that's kind of combining the melody with that tone of that line cliche, which actually is making a B flat ninth chord. Yeah, intervals. I've said this before. You, like, in the hierarchy of knowing things on this instrument, obviously the notes on your fretboard, major scales, minor scales, and then intervals. That I've realized that's really the thing that's behind everything is what are the intervals that are happening. And it really helps to like make this thing not just dots. You're like, oh yeah, there's the flat 7, and the melody, which is the 2 going up to the 3. Neat. It's not just a weird shape that means nothing to me. And here comes an E flat. That structure. Here comes an F. Yep, so just that one to that one, those C shapes. There's that double stop again. Yep, get that F, just this 7 and 5 though of that. Major pentatonic off of the B flat. Because this melody is almost 100% B flat major pentatonic. I've said this before, and I'll say it again, and I'll say it till I'm dead. Many times a chord progression in a song is interesting, evolved, snazzy things going on, but the vocal melody will be predominantly pentatonic, be it major pentatonic or minor pentatonic, with some spice notes added in between. I think the value in recognizing that for us guitar players is that, hey, that means that pentatonics aren't bad. Pentatonics are really catchy, really memorable, and they get just right to the heart. They get right to the ear, heart, brain connection. And it's so, because I know a lot of times people feel guilty about playing pentatonics. I don't. And then I'm kind of combining a little bit of Red House licks with a little bit of what Otis does, that because the changes become a little bit different as it kind of does the outro. It's just E flat up to F up to B flat, just 4, 5, 1. And so I'm good now. That's straight out Red House, that second part. But yeah, this is Otis. A 1 fret bend on this 8th fret, which now I'm starting to see B flat minor pentatonic, because you can hear it gets bluesy there. So, but kind of being sneaky, doing a 1 fret bend there. And then this is straight out Red House. That's crossover licks where it's a little bit major pentatonic, a little bit minor pentatonic, and a little bit double stop. Hendrix, man. There's that thing from before, that flat 8 to diagonal. That's a cool lick. Yep, there's the flat 3rd to the 3rd. And you saw me do the kind of like the I don't pick them, but I do get that of that. So you got. I love doing that. That I actually picked up from Santana. That like you don't pick the end of the phrase, but you can kind of fret a little bit more because it's a vocal thing. Ugh, those trails, and then that's straight minor pentatonic there. You know, we got a. I don't need to say those. If this is blues, notice I'm making sure to put the blue note in there. But yeah. And then I wanted to do that again, but I knew I wanted to go major pentatonic. So I slide backwards to get that E flat there so that then I could be doing the old crossover. Yep, and that's now thinking B flat major pentatonic. Not G minor pentatonic. That's not the way I see things. Uh-oh, detour. That thing about like, yo, bro, you can play minor pentatonic over here and then just put 3 frets back and play G minor pentatonic against B flat major and it'll work out. Totally legit, totally a cool thing for kind of earlier phase playing. What I end up telling students a lot is as you move forward into really playing chord-based stuff, you kind of have to leave that trick behind and acknowledge that, yo, major pentatonic has its structures, and that goes with those 5 major chord cage shapes. Like, you know, there's a major pentatonic. Yeah, just put the charts up. Yep. And minor pentatonic has its whole setup. Even though we know they're related, it makes the chord and fill playing a lot cleaner when that's cleaner in our mind, that we're no longer doing that little bit of calculus like, okay, songs in B flat major. If I want to put a fill over the B flat major, I have to count up 6 steps of B flat, C, D, E. Is it E flat or E? You see how long that takes? It's ultimately cooler as you move forward in your experting of this instrument to just separate them back out again. Recognize that thing was a cool trick earlier on that you're like, cool, I can just do that. And it totally sounds good and it totally works. But as you really get into the chord plus fill playing or groove and fill playing, the place between rhythm and lead, all that stuff that I deal with, that thing, yeah, I say to let that go and kind of reorganize things separately into the 5 minor pentatonic shapes and those chords that go with it, and the 5 major pentatonic shapes and those chords that go with that, and tie those together. If you enjoy my work, please like, subscribe, and share. That costs you nothing and helps people like me out immensely. One more time around how my business works. You can book one-on-one time with me. There's Patreon, which has live streams, charts, backing tracks, and things like that. And that's as little as $2 a month. That's a pretty low entryway to like, hey, thanks, man. I appreciate your work, and I kind of want to keep up with what you're doing. Or if you're like, you keep talking these big concepts. Where are those? Those are on my website too. Those are my courses. There it is. As Bill and Ted would say, be excellent to each other. That includes yourself. Happy Friday. Eat pizza.